Okay. Gandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Ilan na tayo naka-login? 19. Okay, very good. Gandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Ilan na tayo naka-login? 19. Okay, very good. Okay. Just checking. So, may isa tayong missing student. I wonder sino kaya yon. O, ayan, kompleto na tayo. Okay, very good. Kompleto na tayo. This is a class in elementary logic. Kanina nagkamali tayo. Nilagay natin philosophical analysis. Okay? Tanggalin na natin itong banner natin na to. Okay. First things first, ang ating broadcast, tatlo. StreamYard. Ito yan, nakalagay dyan sa ating screen. Isa Facebook na sinuspend natin kasi may attempted hacking sa akin kahapon. And itong YouTube. Now, what's going to happen, every meeting, beginning next meeting, I will invite half of the class to be part of the StreamYard broadcast. Meaning to say, with your microphones and your cameras, you will be part of the broadcast. So, 10 at a time. So, yung isang unang 20, next meeting, yung susunod na 20, another meeting. Pagkabisado na natin, kayo at saka ako, when we are comfortable with the medium, then we will get everybody all at the same time participating with the broadcast on StreamYard. All right? Now, there is a catch. Why? Because if you participate with the StreamYard broadcast, that would mean you will be part of the YouTube broadcast. Kung ayaw ninyo, that's the reason why we're not yet using StreamYard for the class. Kasi some of you might not want to be broadcast in public. Halimbawa ako, Sus Mariosep, itong itsura ko na to, ang haba-haba ng buhok. So, but I have to do this. Kasi para sa inyo. Alright? Now, so, at the moment, we're not going to use StreamYard. Think about it. If you do not want to be part of the broadcast, you better tell me about it. But like I said, I will invite 20 of you next meeting. Let me correct myself. I'll invite 10 of you next meeting and then another 10 the following meeting. And then if everybody's comfortable, we will broadcast together with everybody. When everybody who does not want, everybody who is not queasy about being part of the broadcast. It's all right if you do not want to be part of the broadcast, okay lang yun. Talagang marami tayo mahihiyain. Ako mahihiyain ako bago ako pumunta ng UP. Kumapal lang ang mukha ako nung nandito na ako sa UP. Alright? So let's get down to business. This is Introduction to Elementary Logic, and mind you, let me tell you, right from the beginning, this is elementary mathematical logic. Alright? Sa Ateneo, sa Lasal, sa UST, kung hindi ako nagkakamali, ang itinuturo, Aristotelian logic. Tayo, ang tinuturo natin, mathematical logic. Alright? So, introduction to elementary mathematical logic. Introduction lang. Alright, let me share my screen with you. Alright, share tayo ng screen. Now, remember, meron tayong Google Classroom unit. Alright? And ang unang-unang gagawin natin lagi, everyday, mag-check ng attendance. So as you can see here, alright, meron tayong attendance check. Alright, attendance check. And I will post that. Alright. Yan, posted na yan. Oh, tingnan ninyo. Can you see that? Alright. Attendance check. Alright. There you go. Attendance form that everybody has to fill up during all class sessions. So, fill up nyo yan ha. Simula pa lang, fill up nyo na. Kung tinatamad kayong tingnan yung screen, well, at least you can fill that up. Maiksi lang naman yan eh. Alright, but as we do our lectures, make sure you fill out the attendance check, alright? Now, why attendance? Alright, why attendance? Marami sa inyo hindi na freshmen. You should already know by now why attendance is very important. Alright? It is very important because, as you can see, part of our class rules. Alright? Let me show you our class rules. Yan. Now, focus on item number 2. What's item number 2? Anyone absent during 20% or more of the class sessions is going to be given a grade of 5. There you go. All right? 20% or more, you get a grade of 5. Why? You see, our nation, our country has very limited resources. All right? Now, much of the resources that we have as a nation, we spend for UP. Therefore, you as students. All right? Now, notice if you check, you can check this. Ano ba ang lifespan, average lifespan dito sa Metro Manila ng mga citizens ng Metro Manila? Metro Manila citizens get to have around about 69 years of age on the average. The Philippines at large, if I am not mistaken, has an average lifespan of around 63 years old for females and 62 for males. Now, what's the point? If you go to, say, the Mindanao Muslim regions, Bangsamoro regions, all right, where there is so much strife and no development comes around, the average lifespan of the citizens there is around 44, not even 45 years old. Stretch it to 45. At 45 years of lifespan, compared to 69 years of lifespan, you can imagine about 1/3 of their lives gone down the drain. Simply because they are born somewhere in a place where there is not much development. Here at UP campus, you see our buildings. There are so many of them. We pave our roads as if we are changing our shoes every now and then. But many places in Mindanao, they don't get to see roads their entire lifetime. All right? So, what am I saying? You pull the blanket to one side, other people do not get the share of the blanket on the other side. The resources of this nation are very limited. With our limited resources, we cannot help everybody the way we are helping people here at the university. So, precisely because you are using up the resources here at UP, some fellow in Mindanao or in the Cordillera Autonomous Region or somewhere else in the Philippines will not get his fair share of the resources. You will get more than them. Now, precisely because we are spending on you time, money, effort, and sacrifice. It takes so much sacrifice. You probably don't know it. It takes so much sacrifice to become a teacher here at UP. Kahapon lang namatay yung isa naming colleague. Ang daming colleagues namin dito nagtuturo. We have so many of our colleagues who have taught here and have not had much to show for after they retire. They cannot even pay their own hospital bills. So, it takes an amount of sacrifice to be able to teach individuals like you in this class. So, 1, we spend money on you. 2, we spend time on you. 3, we spend effort on you. 4, we sacrifice so much for you. And what happens? You waste the opportunity to learn. That's not good because we could have spent so much of these resources on other people who really need us. So, sa ibang bayan, pagka merong naglulustay ng kanilang resources, pinapatay lined up against the wall. Dito sa UP, sinisingko lang. Alright? Pasalamat tayo, 5 lang ang inaabot natin, a grade of 5. So keep that in mind. Anyone absent during 20% or more of the class sessions is going to be given a grade of 5. Now take note. Anyone excused from being absent is going to be given a makeup exam, if that is what is needed, or a grade of drop, only a grade of drop instead of 5, if the student is not able to continue the coursework. Pero, take note, excuse. Alright? Iba ang excuse from mere justification. Alright? Keep that in mind. Excuse is much, much more than mere justification. Let me highlight it. Excuse, ay, hindi ma-highlight. Yan. Excuse is not the same as mere justification. All right? Let me explain. Imagine you're a basketball player, star, the UP. And there's a crucial game. If we win the game, we become basketball champions. And if we become basketball champions, given the points that the university has already earned, we become overall UAAP champions of the year. Pwedeng mangyari. Ngayon, ang problema, the ball game involved, falls on a day where you have to take an exam. So you have to make a choice. Take the exam or play the game. And you think about it, and then you decide, and you make a decision that you're going to play the game, be the hero that you are. And so, we win the ball game, we become basketball champions, and we become UAAP champions, and everybody's happy, including me. I would be happy at that point. However, 5 ka pa rin. All right, you get a 0 for your exam. You get a 5. Why? Because you made your decision. It's not as if you had no way not to play the game. In other words, it's not as if somebody has been threatening you. All right, I'll kill you if you don't play the game. Well, there you have an excuse. All right, you get run over by a train, and then you're telling everybody, take me to the house, take me to the no, take me to UP, take me to UP. Take to UP because I have an exam. Take me to UP. Kung dinala ka sa ospital, hindi ka dinala sa UP, hindi ka makakuha ng examen. Kahit gusto mong kumuha ng examen, hindi pwede. Kasi nandun ka sa ospital. Alright? Same if you've been kidnapped. Alright? Yung mukha kang Chinoy, kagaya ko, akala nila marami kang pera. You get kidnapped and then you're buried 6 feet underground. Even if you want to, you cannot take the exam. well, in that case, you're excused. So, what does it mean to be excused? Excuse is indicated by one, some justification acceptable by the university standards. And two, so there are two items involved. Justification acceptable by university standards. And two, the case involved being a situation where the student has no choice. No choice at all. Even if he wanted to, there's no way. No choice at all, or almost no choice at all, to be able to take the exam concerned or to be able to attend the required classes. All right? So, if you do not have an excuse, you get a grade of 5. All right? There you go. That's the reason why we have to have our we have to have our attendance check. All right. Now, how do you participate during our class sessions? Well, you can go back to our. All right, you can go back to our Google Classroom and see here. This is our YouTube link. Stand by, we go on live. You can make your comments here. Comments here, please. Yan. For now, you're limited to comments on our Google Classroom. And at the same time, you can also come up with your comments on YouTube because there's a chat section there on YouTube broadcast. You can put on your comments there. Now, anybody, anyone, everyone is free to give a comment, no holds barred. Pwede nyo sabihin, ay, si Professor De Villa pala, mukhang toko. Mukhang butiki. Ay, okay lang. Eh, wala tayong magagawa kung yan ang nasa isip mo eh. Alright? It's very important that we have democracy. In fact, that's precisely one of the most important takeaways, one of the most important lessons you should get here out of this class. Alright? What is this class? Elementary logic. And what are you going to learn? The value of democracy. Now, paano nangyari yan? Value of democracy, elementary logic. You see, I'm involved with a company. We have a small company that is into artificial intelligence. A small company that is into information communication technology. And we realize that the advances in artificial intelligence actually are founded on the concept of democracy. So we'll tell you about that later. All right? Now, let's get back to our course. Remember, I gave everybody a course pack. All right? We have our course materials. Here, there you go. All right? Brief introduction to elementary logic. Ayan. Can you see that? Very good. All right? Just a moment. Nauubusan na ako ng... I'm using a very old computer. It's almost a 10-year-old computer, and its battery has so much to wish for. All right, so this is introduction to elementary mathematical logic. All right, what is our course objective? Course objective, what is it? All right. Let me tell you about it. Okay. At the end of the semester, the student should have enough understanding of the nature and limits of reasoning as to be able to cite how it may be mathematicized at the elementary level. All right? At the very basic level, we can mathematicize reasoning. Now, understanding the nature and limits of reasoning is best attained when you mathematicize it. All right? That's the reason why we uh, insist on everybody taking a Philo 1. You are taking a Philo 11, but no, you will notice that actually a significant part of Philo 11 is very much like what we teach at what we teach in Philo 1. When we teach Philo 1, so much of it, from a third to about a half, depends on the teacher, from a third to about a half of the entire course in Philo 1 is about logic, is about mathematical logic. Because to be able to do philosophy is to be able to reason well. And to be able to reason well is to be able to be in control of one's destiny, of one's future, as you will see later. And it's much, much better if you are able to mathematicize that capacity to reason. It will be very useful for those of you involved with science especially, but not exclusively useful for science. Even in the realm of the art, it's very useful. Excuse me. I will show you how logic is applicable to, for example, songwriting. You know, I have 26 songs, original. And there's music into these songs that I am proud of. And I'm telling you, I'm only able to do that because of, come up with my own songs because of my knowledge of elementary logic. So we'll deal with that later. Now, so let me repeat. What is our course objective? At the end of the semester, the students should have enough understanding of the nature and limits of reasoning as to be able to cite how it may be mathematicized at the elementary level. Now I have a question. All right, I have a question. All right, let's get back to our comments. I have a question here. How many of you have taken up in some course about the nature and limits of reasoning in senior high? Ala, big question. All right. Next meeting, I'll be expecting everybody to have their own accounts on Mentimeter. Free naman yan eh, libre. All right. I have already announced to you that we are going to use Mentimeter. All right. Mentimeter will be very useful for the classwork because it will be so much part of our building of knowledge about the matter, meaning to say logic that we are now dealing with. So next meeting, meron na tayong Mentimeter. But for the moment, we have to be content with just discussing whatever we can discuss here on our Google Classroom unit. All right, so I have a question. I hope some of you will think about it. How many of you have taken up some course about the nature and limits of reasoning in senior high? High school at large. Senior high, high school. Meron ba sa inyo? All right, we've only discussed some fallacies and ethics. Ay, fallacies importante ah. Fallacies, Ms. Jamson, are important even to artificial intelligence. I am telling you, if you have a machine, you know, like those things that you see on movies, and they are and the machine is artificially intelligent, that machine will be very much interested in fallacies. Why? I'll tell you about it later. But at least that's good enough. May fallacies kayo ha. Pero yung mechanics of reasoning, baka hindi niyo siguro pinag-aralan. Alright? Let me tell everyone about the requirement of the study of logic at the university. Philosophy, with its emphasis on logic, has been required since the beginning of the university. Okay? Tingnan niyo muna ako. Ayan. Let me repeat. Logic, as part of studies in philosophy, has been required of all university students ever since the establishment of the university. Then, as time has gone by, something has happened. But for so long a time, until the year 2000, required ang pag-aaral ng logic under the rubric Philo 1. So pag tinuro ang Philo 1, 30 to 50% ng tinuturo sa inyo, logic. Required ang Philo 1 sa lahat ng estudyante ng UP until the year 2000. Nagkataon na noong around 1990, nagtayo ang Pilipinas ng Commission on Higher Education. Now, nung itinayo yung Commission on Higher Education, anong nangyari? When they have put it up, it so happens that all the members of the commission galing sa UP. Or almost all, rather. Almost all the members of the commission galing sa UP. Headed by a UP professor. So ano nangyari? Yung curriculum ng UP, which includes Philo 1, philosophical analysis, ni-require sa buong Pilipinas. Ang saya. Alright, masaya. And then, for some strange reason, sa UP, dinesisyonan noong year 2000 na ang Philo 1, which teaches everyone logic, hindi na required. Ginawang elective. So, beginning the year 2000, pwede ka nang graduate nang wala kang alam sa logic. Graduate na UP, walang alam sa logic. Paano nangyari yun? Excuse me ha, pag matanda ka na, mabilis ka ma-dehydrate eh. So, the year 2000, walang requirement ng Philo 1, walang requirement ng logic. Now, guess what? Let me take our discussion somewhere else. Matanda na ako. I was born in somewhere around the middle of the 20th century. All right? Now, nung bata ako, when I was young, ang mga pinapanood ko yung lumang TV programs and movies ni Flash Gordon. Hindi nyo kilala yan. Yan yung precursor ng Star Trek. Pinapanood namin yung Lost in Space. Pinapanood namin yung Star Trek, syempre. And we love watching movies like, of course, Star Wars. Why? Kasi in the 20th century, ang idol namin ay, as mga young kids, ay si Neil Armstrong. One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Yan. So, you can guess, ang tawag sa 20th century ay Age of Space Exploration. Age of Space Exploration, or simply, Space Age. So, kahit sa cartoons, ang mga sikat, yung may kinalaman sa Space Age, kagaya ng Jetsons. Alright? And of course, you still see everybody's love for Star Trek. Now, panahon ni Jose Rizal, 1800s, the 19th century, ang mga sikat, hindi si Neil Armstrong. Ang sikat dyan, si Alexander Graham Bell, si Nikola Tesla. Kilala niyo si Nikola Tesla? Yung nagtitinda ng taho doon sa Cruz Narigas. Sino pa ba mga sikat noon? Thomas Edison. So, what's going on? Well, 19th century, ang tawag sa panahon nila, Age of Inventors. Meaning to say, if your economy as a nation has little to do with the availability of the inventions made by these popular people, then your economy would not have been competitive. And what were the inventions of these inventors? The age of inventors. You have the steam engine. You have the telegraph. You have the telephone. You have the incandescent lamp. All right? You have the machines that produce electricity for an entire city as conjured up by Nikola Tesla. So, ang tawag sa panahon na yon, Age of Inventors. Ang tawag sa panahon namin, Age of Space Exploration. Ano ang tawag sa panahon ninyo? Ayan. Tingnan muna natin yung mga comments ninyo kung may nag-comments pa. Same with Hazel, sir. Ay, anong sabi ni Hazel? Wala daw. Ito yung mga comments niya. Alright? Ano yung comments ninyo? Sabi ni Hazel, wala. Sabi ni Miss Alonso, from what I remember, we just briefly tackled inductive, deductive reasoning. Miss Alonso, importante na yan. Very important that you at least tackled inductive and deductive reasoning. Alright? But kulang. And then, sabi ni Miss Serrano, ganun din ang sabi ni Miss Carullo. Hoy, Miss Carullo, your family name reminds me of a good friend of mine. Si Mo Carullo ng National Union. Well, saka na natin pag-usapan. Alright? Yung mga Carullo, sikat sa labor organizing nung panahon namin. Pag-usapan natin later. Okay. So, ano ang tawag sa panahon ninyo? Excuse me. Sandali Ang panahon ninyo, 21st century, ang tawag dyan, Age of Information Communication Technology. At ang pinaka-importante sa Information Communication Technology ay Artificial Intelligence. Sa panahon ninyo, hindi lang artificial intelligence ang makikita ninyo. Sa panahon ninyo, magkakaroon ng artificial general intelligence. Ayan. Exciting. Nakakatakot din, pero exciting naman. At the same time, pag-usapan natin later. Now, anong kinalaman yan sa kwentuhan natin? Wala. Gusto ko lang magkwento. Anong kinalaman yan? Sabi ko nga kanina, noong year 2000, for some strange reason, sabi ng UP, hindi na natin required ang pag-aaral ng logic. Hindi na natin required ang pag-aaral ng Philo 1. Nung panahon ko, walang Philo 1. Nung panahon ko, required Philo 11. Tapos ginawang Philo 1 na bawasan. Pero nandun pa rin yung basics ng logic. Ay pagdating ng year 2000, kung kailan papasok ang information communication technology na dependent on computer technology, na dependent on programming, computer programming, na dependent on logic, basics ng logic. Ang foundation ng information, computers, information, communication, technology, ang foundation niyan, computers. Pag walang computers, walang information, communication, technology. Pag walang programming, walang computers. Pag walang logic, walang computers. So, ang talino. Sabi ni Professor De Villa doon sa mga opisyal ng UP, ang talino. Kung kailan pa may information communication technology at saka natin tinanggal ng pag-aaral logic. Okay. Anong nangyari sa Philo 1? Sa requirement ng CHED? Yung CHED, nakipag-usap sa DepEd. Inevitably, dinecide nila na ang first 2 years ng college, ibababa sa high school. So, naging grade 11, grade 12. Alright? So, alam nyo na yan. K to 12, kindergarten to 12, ang program natin. Alright? Sa Department of Education. So, yung pagtuturo ng Philo 1, napunta sa DepEd. Nagkataon na nung itinuturo, nung ibinaba sa DepEd ang Philo 1, ang may hawak ng DepEd ay mga opisyal na galing sa Catholic schools. Hindi ako galit sa Catholic schools. Produkto ako ng Catholic schools. Lahat ng mentors ko from elementary hanggang high school ay mga Jesuita. Kung nakita nyo yung litrato ko dun sa pinadala ko sa inyo dati, may pinadala ko sa inyo na course. Tingnan nga natin. Ano nga ba yung pinadala ko sa inyo dati? Ayan. Course Objective Lecture. Kaya ganyan ang itsura ko dati. By the way, litrato ko yan last semester lang yan. Ang problema, dami nating problema sa lockdown tapos ito nga, haba kayo ng buhok ko. Anyway, kaya ganyan na itsura ko kasi mga idol ko doon, mga Jesuita Ganyan na itsura ng mga Jesuita nung bata ako Anyway, hindi ako galit sa Catholic schools. Now, nung ibinaba ang Philo 1 sa DepEd, ano nangyari? Yung DepEd, hawak ng Catholic schools. So, yung pagtuturo ng Philo 1, nawala ang logic. Kasi sa Catholic schools ay tinuturo Aristotelian logic. Later, i-compare natin yung dalawa. Ano nangyari? Nung nawala ang logic, ay disgrasya. Kasi kung kailan pa natin kailangan ng pag-aaral ng logic sa information communication technology age, tsaka nawala. So ngayon, importante ang role ninyo. Hindi lang sa pagka-graduate ninyo dito sa ating course, ano yung course objective natin? At the end of the semester, the students should have enough understanding of the nature and limits of reasoning as to be able to cite ways of mathematicizing reasoning at its most basic level at the elementary level. Alright? Hindi lang yan ang sana ay mangyari. After matapos ninyo ang course, sana maging spokespersons kayo ng pangangailangan ng ating bansa ng pag-aaral ng nature and limits of reasoning, preferably in mathematical form. Ayan. So far, so good. Alright? Sabihin nyo sa akin, sa ating mga opisyal, sabi ni Professor De Villa, bulok ang ating desisyon na tanggalin ang requirement ng pag-aaral ng logic. Isipin ninyo, sa buong UP system, ang nagre-require lang na mag-aral ng logic, ergo Philo 1, ay UP Diliman. Ang UP Diliman kasi, mga teacher dito, matitigas ang ulo Siguro after patapos tayo ng course dito, matigas na rin ang ulo nyo, mahahawa kayo sa akin. So, there you go. It is our age where we have to be competitive. Alright? Bakit nanalo si Bolsonaro ng Brazil? Bakit nanalo si Trump? Bakit nanalo si Duterte? Ginamitan ng information communication technology. Pag-uusapan natin yan. May mga details ako dyan. I can show you. So, ang future natin, malaki ang kinalaman sa pag-aaral ng logic, sa pag-aaral ng information communication technology. Balik tayo rito. So that's our course objective. All right, now I have my details here. Nandiyan naman yan. Binigay ko sa inyo yan. And our class rules, I've already pointed them out. Yes. Anyone absent during 20% more of the class session is going to be given a grade of 5. Binanggit ko na yan sa inyo. All right, now, punta tayo din eh. Yan. Eh, ano ba yan? All right. That's what? The sunrise. All right. Pagsikat ng araw sa silangan. Ayan. Courtesy ni Stan Carey. Kinuha ko yan sa Wikimedia. Meron akong original na akin, pero mas maganda to kaysa na original photograph ko, kaya kinuha ko din. May permission naman. Alright? Now, what's that all about? The rising of the sun. Excuse me. What do you do when you reason? Alright? Para lang makita natin bakit importante yung pag-aaral ng philosophical analysis. Kasi marami kayong gagawin eh. Pag-aaral ng elementary logic, marami kayong gagawin eh. Alright? What is it that you do when you reason? May tanong ako. Kunyari ikaw, astronomer. So, mahilig sa science, you're into astronomy, and then, you are there on the beach looking at the sun. Looking at the sun, you have a friend with you. Alright? Hindi naman siya nanlalait ako, no? Marami akong kaibigan dyan sa mga indigenous people natin. Pero ipagpalagay na natin na meron kang isang dumagat. Alright? Meron kang isang dumagat dyan sa likod ng Angat Dam. Marami akong kaibigan dumagat dyan. Yung isang dumagat dyan, ang pangalan si Barok. Imagine niyo si Barok kasama mo dun sa beach. Itong si Barok, halos hindi makabasa. Marunong naman, pero halos hindi makabasa. Hirap na hirap. Now, imagine niyo, the two of you are looking at the sun. Eh, ikaw, dahil ikaw ay marunong ng science, alam mo, yung araw, stationary. At yung Earth, nag-o-orbit around the sun. At habang nag-o-orbit ang Earth around the sun, nagre-revolve siya. May revolution yung Earth, umiikot. So, alam mo, stationary yung araw at yung Earth ang gumagalaw. So, when you look at the sun, you have that at the back of your mind. Pero, on the other hand, yung si Barok na dumagat dyan sa likod ng Sierra Madre ng galing, ang kanyang pananaw ay yung araw ay gumagalaw. Tanong, do you see the same sun? Tingnan nga natin dun sa ating comment section. So, tanong, do you see the same sun? Do you see the same sun? You, the astronomer, and your friend, the IP. Yan ang tanong ko. Alright. Now, para yang si Mother Teresa. Na-imagine niyo ba si Mother Teresa na kumakanta? Tapos yung kanta niya ganito, "Who let the dogs out? Ooh, 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 ooh." Na-imagine niyo ba yan? Gaganyan si Mother Teresa. Alright, so what's the point? You can see the sun, the two of you are looking at it. It's actually possible that you may not be seeing the same sun. Similarly, you hear the same series of tones, But for one of you, it is music. But for another, it is noise. So, question. Are you seeing the same sun? Are you hearing the same noise? Even better, when you ask, sinong tama? Sinong mali? Sasabihin sa iyo nung isang kausap mo, ay patayin mo na nga yung radyo na iyang kaingay-ingay eh. Noise. Eh ikaw naman, sasabihin mo, but that's beautiful music. Alright? Paano na yan? Na-imagine nyo, yung si Mother Teresa ulit, naku, huwag naman sana magalit sa akin. Ay, imagine niyo si Mother Teresa, na-imagine nyo ba na sumasayaw yan dun sa ano bang mga kantang, alam ko? Yung kanta ng Big Bang, alam niyo ba yun? Fantastic Baby. How will you decide when somebody says, no, what you're listening to is noise, but you insist, no, what I'm hearing is music. How do you decide? So, tokan kayo. Alright? Anong kinalaman nyo sa logic? Marami. Papakita natin. Alright? So, eto ulit. Balik tayo sa ating pinag-uusapan. Alright. Ay, nawala. Nasaan na yan? Okay. Ito kanina eh. Pinag-uusapan natin araw. Ayan. Notice, as a rule, and you know this as a rule. As a rule, you know that whenever the sun rises, it rises from the east. Alam nyo yan. Tanong, paano nyo nalaman? Yan. Siyempre, hindi nyo naman nalaman dahil nabasa nyo sa isang academic journal. Or, hindi nyo naman nalaman kasi umattend kayo ng isang academic conference. Eh, paano nyo nalaman? Alright? Well, one way of putting it is this. Alright? Yan. Imagine niyo one day, alright? One day, day one. You've seen the sun rise from the east. And you state it in a sentence and you remember that in your mind as a thought. So you have one thought, the sun has risen from the east. But then, another day, you also see the sun rise from the east. And so you have another thought indicating the sun has risen from the east. And then, another day, the same thought. And for so many days, all right, you've seen the sun rise from the east, and then you have so much memory of the sun rising from the east. So, thanks to your capacity to reason, you now say, well, as a rule, all right, as a rule, whenever the sun rises, it rises from the east. All right? We do that, yes. Especially if you notice, thanks to your capacity to reason, aba, ay sa dinami-dami ng araw, ng pagsikat ng araw na nakita ko, kahit isa, wala akong nakita na hindi sumikat sa silangan. Laging ang pagsikat ay sa silangan, walang counter instance. So, ano yung nakita mo? Ang dami-daming pagkakataon ng araw sumikat sa silangan. Ano pa yung nalaman mo? Dahil nag-iisip ka, nangangatuwiran ka, naisip mo, aba, ay wala palang pagkakataon, walang counter instance ng araw, ay hindi sa silangan sumikat. So, ang sinasabi mo, aba, edi, bilang isang rule, bilang isang pattern, whenever the sun rises, it rises from the east. Oh, eh alam natin yan, siyempre. Now, ito yung malupit. Dahil alam mo itong rule na ito, bakit? Dahil alam mo itong mga ito, na kung ano-anong mga yan, Alam mo nga itong rule na ito. Malalaman mo rin sa makatuwid na ano, if tomorrow the sun will rise, anong mangyari? Di sasabihin mo, kung sisikat ang araw bukas, yan ay sisikat sa silangan, sa east. If the sun is going to rise tomorrow, it will rise from the east. Ayan. So, ano nangyari? Di nakita natin yung future. Ito tayo, nakaupo, nagdidiskusyon, pero hindi pa nangyayari yung bukas, nakita mo na. Alright? Hindi pa nangyayari, nakita mo na. Ang galing, di ba? That's what reasoning is all about. Alright? You become now a visionary. You have a vision of the future. Alright? So, ano yung vision of the future mo? Di iyan, bukas, sisikat sa silangan ng araw at pwede nating bantayan. Pustahan pa tayo. Alright? So, we have become prophets. We have become prophets. That's precisely what I'm talking about. Alright? Ayan. This is a photograph taken by an Australian who does not want his name to go public, but he allowed us to use the photograph, so there you have it. From the point of view of the ancient Egyptians, the sun is not a flaming rock. From the point of view of the Egyptians, the sun is a god. And guess what? The Egyptians have always thought that anybody who can see the future must be either a god himself or someone who is talking to the gods. And so, people go to them. All right? You have a farmer in the ancient times, in the absence of a calendar, in the absence of knowledge that are so common to us today, when they want to plant their crops, patay mali. In other words, they have very little means of assessing the situation. When am I going to plant my crops? Today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year? All right? And so, there's so much chance that they fail. So, they plant their crops, nagkataon na hindi dumating ang ulan, di kinain lang ng mga insekto yung kanilang mga tinanim. Sayang, waste of time, money, and effort. On the other hand, tinanim nila ng may ulan, nagkamali ng timing, kung kailan mag-harvest na, kagaya nung nangyari sa China ngayon, at saka pa dumating ang mga baha, at saka mga bagyo, wala ka ring ma-harvest. So, na-imagine ninyo, dun sa shores of the Nile River, malaki problema ng mga farmers. And what do? They talk to the gods and the deities to find out what's going to happen in the future. And if they cannot talk to the gods and the deities, bakit? Kasi naghahanap ka ng burning bush sa bundok. Kaso, naubos na yung mga puno sa bundok Ginawa nating panggatong ng ating mga ihaw-ihaw. Di wala ka ng burning bush, meron ka na lang burning kugon. But the point is, kung hindi mo makausap yung mga Diyos on your own, what do? Do you talk to the prophets? And then it is the prophets who will tell you, plant your crops on this day, harvest your crops on this week, and so on and so forth. Alright? Looking into the future, you talk to the gods and the deities. Later on, you even say, well, I have a newborn child. I want to name the kid. So what do I name the kid? You ask the gods and the deities. Then you want to marry someone. Is he or she going to be compatible with me? Is our marriage going to be successful? You ask the gods and the deities. You want to go to war? Makikipaggera ka? Am I going to win? Am I going to lose? How much am I going to win? How much am I going to lose? You ask the gods and the deities. And so, that's the situation. when you reason, you get to see so much of the future. And what do? You make decisions on the basis of your capacity to reason. Based on reasoning, we know next year, tataas ang presyo ng mga bilihin na pagkain. Bakit? Kasi so much of food that we have here in East Asia comes from China. 70% ng taniman ng China ay binaha ngayon. Wala silang ma-harvest. At yung baha, hindi pa tumitigil. Delikado nga yung Three Gorges Dam. And given our knowledge of the past, we know that if this is what's happening now, we can say, well, next year, magkakaroon ng competition sa pagbili ng mga pagkain. At the more competition, that will mean tataas ang presyo. Delikado tayo next year. May COVID na nga tayo, wala na nga tayong pera, pagkatapos ang mahal-mahal pa ng bilihin. Alright? But the point is, we look into the future on the basis of our capacity to reason, independent of the gods and the deities. That's what we do. When you know your logic, you're able to foresee the future, you are able to have foresight, and you're able to have control over your life. When a piece of rock falls from atop a hill, that piece of rock has no choice. That piece of rock will just go down along the hill and then end up somewhere. Hindi pwedeng sabihin ng bato, ay gusto ko ako ay mahulog papunta sa langit. ay hindi pwede. Alright? Hindi pwede. Parang sinabi mong kaibigan natin yang mga sumasakop sa ating mga isla dyan sa West Philippine Sea. Naloko na. Alright. What's the point? If a farmer knows the future, he has more control over his destiny. If he knows when the rains are coming and when the rains are not coming, then he will know when to plant and when not to plant. Someone who can predict the future on the basis of his capacity to reason will have more chances of survival, more control over his destiny. That's why this is important. Not only for information communication technology, this is important for our nation to be able to get hold of our destiny as a nation. Tanong. Ito na naman, may tanong na naman ako. Tignan nga natin, ano ba yung mga pinagsasabi nyo dun sa mga comments natin? Nag-comment ba kayo? May tanong ako kanina. Ay, ang dami. Tingnan nga natin. Tingnan natin, ang dami naman nito. Sus Maria Joseph. Very good. Yan. Alright. Alright. Seeing the same sun, but each has a different understanding of it. Para mo na rin sinabi, Miss Trina, na they see the same sun, but they do not see the same sun. Do they see the same sun? Yes, sir. Alright, sige. But does not change, but rather the perception of it from person to person. Miss Alonso, tama yan, Not all of us have the same past or prior experiences. Somebody born in the hinterlands of the mountains of Scotland will have a very different way of looking at the universe compared to someone who has lived his entire life on, say, the beaches of Boracay. Magkaiba yun. Alright? Yung mountain man ay iba ang tingin sa mundo compared dun sa mga mandaragat. It's the same sun. Alright? They see, sabi ni Mr. Aborquez, they see the same entity, the sun, but they perceive it differently because of the difference in their backgrounds. Mga estudyante kayo ng psychology, My answer would be yes, they perceive, the way they perceive might be different, but nevertheless, they are looking at the same sun. Alam mo, Miss Serrano, sa totoo lang, kung talagang nangyayari yan, palagay ko wala tayong gera sa mundo eh. Palagay ko hindi tayo nagigera sa mundo. Sound argument ito, sir, from joint conclusions of the premises. Pag-uusapan natin yan, conclusions and premises. Nako, naloko na. Ang bilis mo. Saka na muna natin, Miss Relampagos, saka na natin pag-usapan yan, ha? Miss Carullo, in what context do they see the same sun? Miss Carullo, ito yung tanong ko. Supposing I say, okay, sa ganitong context, pwede mo na ngayon akong tanungin, ano yung context ng context mo, sir? Tapos tatanungin mo ako, ano yung context ng context ng context mo, sir? Tapos tatanungin mo ulit, ano yung context ng context mo? Pag-uusapan natin yan sa logic and mathematics. Alright? Slippery slope ang dating niyan, slippery slope. Pero importante, Miss Carullo, ang tawag natin dyan, recursion. Pag walang recursion, walang reasoning the way humans reason. Pag walang recursion, walang artificial intelligence. Sige. Ano nga yung tanong ni Miss Carullo? In what context do they see the same sun takes place? Pag tinanong nyo yan, pwedeng tanongin, in what context is that context? And then you can ask the same thing, in what context is that context of that context? Walang katapusan, pero importante. Alright? Their sensation of the sun is the same, therefore they do see the same sun, but their perception, well, everybody knows that. Very good. So, chances are kayo ay mga mas mature na mga estudyante talaga. Hindi kayo yung mga freshmen. May freshmen ba kaya dyan sa inyo? Alright, validity of the form, the truth of the information will give us true conclusion. Mr. Bao, Miss Relampagos. Alright, Miss Relampagos, ito yung tanong ko. Sa science, we produce theories eh. When you use the scientific method, ang tawag natin sa pinoproduce natin, theories. Why are they called theories? Because we expect, as science goes on, we have to make adjustments. Sa makatuwid, sa science, wala tayong truth na pinag-uusapan eh. Theories lang. Kasi, theories you expect to change. They can either be revised or rejected. Pero when you talk of truth, then you cannot revise it because it's the truth. If you cannot revise it and you cannot reject it, ano nang nangyari sa science? Diba? Puzzle. Pag-usapan natin yan. Scientific method, sir. Pag-uusapan nga natin yan scientific method. Kasi kababanggit ko lang, Miss Carullo, sa scientific method, pag napoproduce tayo, theories ang tawag natin. Kaya gaya ng theory of natural selection. Alright? Kagaya ng quantum theory. Alright? Kagaya ng kung ano-anong mga theories. Why do we call them theories? Because we expect them to make adjustments, to be adjusted as time goes by. But if you deal with truth, because they are truth, you cannot adjust them, di ba? So, paano na nangyari sa science? Pag-usapan natin yan. Okay. Ano nga yung huli kong tanong? Naku, nakakalimutan ko na. May tinanong ako kanina eh. Bago natin binalikan tong mga comments ninyo eh. Alright. Pinag-uusapan natin yung nasaan na yun rules natin. Okay. Sandali. Nawala yung aking litrato ng araw. Sorry baka nahihilo na kayo sa hinahanap ko. But anyway, ito. Anyway, nandito tayo. Alright. Ang tanong ay ito. Ito ngayon bagong tanong. Pinag-uusapan natin, control over our destiny. Alright. Looking into the future. Pag ang Pilipino ba, hindi the individual Filipino, Filipino at large. Filipino in general. Pag ang Filipino ba bumoboto, ang hinahanap ba niya yung taong mahusay sa pangangatwiran? mahusay sa reasoning so that he can look into the future independent of the gods and the deities, or someone kagaya nung hinahanap-hanap ng mga ancient people, ang hinahanap ng mga Pilipino, miski ngayon, ay yung sugo ng Diyos? Yan ang tanong. Tingnan ko nga mga sagot ninyo. Sige nga, sagot nga kayo. Alright? Sige. Pag-isipan. Ito ngayon ang tanong ko ha. Ang mga Filipino ba at large ay more like the ancient peoples, like the ancient Egyptians, or like our scientists today? Scientists today who use reasoning. Meaning, when they vote, they look for mga sugo ng Diyos o mga mahusay, mga tuwiran. Yan ang aking tanong. Palagay ninyo, pag uwi ninyo mamaya sa bahay, tanungin nyo nga yung tatay ninyo, tsaka nanay ninyo. Tay, kayo ba pag bumoboto, pinag-iisipan nyo kung sugo ng Diyos yung ay iboboto nyo o hindi? Palagay ninyo. Very predictable sa klase ko, ever since, tagal ko na nagtuturo 35 years na ako na nagtuturo by next year. And pag idadagdag nyo na nagturo rin ako sa ibang universities at saka at one point in time, Office of the President. Ang tagal ko na nagtuturo, pag nagtatanong ako ng mga bagay na ganyan, predictable ang sagot. Predictable na ang mga Pilipino, pag bumoboto, ang hanap sugo ng Diyos. Kaya lahat ng politiko natin, kung ano-anong mga paluhod-luhod at pagulong-gulong kung saan-saang mga simbahan Tapos gusto pang lagi ng may pray over pa na kung saan-saan. Kasi ang mga Pilipino ay nahanap. At pagka may mga leader na naboto, ang sasabihin, ay ako ay sugo nga ng Diyos. Alright? Kaya pag tinanong mo, bakit ganyan ang ginagawa mo? Ang sasabihin sa iyo ay ikaw na magpresidente. Sige. Tingnan nga natin, may sumagot ba? Doon sa tanong ko. Ay, may sumagot? Ala, ang dami. Tingnan nga natin. By the way, ako may punto. Bakit? Ako sa Batangas galing. Alright? Yan, sagot ni Miss Panuelos. Sir, we can see the screen po sa YouTube. Ay, you cannot see the screen. Kakainis naman. Share natin ang screen, ha? Ayan. Pero at least, nakita nyo yung tanong ko. Alright? Sandali ha, tingnan na natin. Sir, we can do... kita na ng screen ngayon, ha? Okay. Kanina kasi, ito yung tinuro natin, ha? Ito yung pinakita natin kanina sa screen. Sorry, ito yung mga ancient Egyptians. Ang sabi nga natin, ang mga ancient people, ang gusto, yung mga kausap ng Diyos, ang magsasabi sa kanila, ano yung future. Ang sabi natin, ngayong panahon na ito, you want to look into the future, you use your capacity to reason. Kaya importante sa atin ang Philo 1 at Philo 11. Lalo na ngayon ang Philo 11. Right? Pag-aaral ng pangangatwiran. At tinanong nga natin, between saying, ang gusto ko, ang leader ay sugo ng Diyos, at ang gusto ko ay yung maghusay sa pangangatwiran, alin ang pinipili ng mga Pilipino pagkaboboto? O bilangin natin, ha? So, more like the ancient people, no, isa dominant, considering na dominantly Catholic ang country natin, it could be plausible po siguro. Plausible na na ancient people nga ang gusto nating model. Sugo ng Diyos. Siguro, yun, Miss De Guzman, yun ang aking assumption. O, dalawa na. O, sugo ng Diyos, si Miss Relampagos, ganun din. I think Filipinos are mostly religious, so hanap nila, sugo ng Diyos. Alright, sabi ni Miss Yamson, ancient people, sugo din ng Diyos. Alright, aba, ay wala akong nakitang nagsabi na ang gusto ay yung mahusay mga twiran. Hala, ay di tagilid nga tayo. Kaya, ulitin ko ang isang kailangan natin, pagka nakagraduate kayo ng course na ito, hindi lamang sa malalaman ninyo, dapat, ulitin natin hindi lamang sa malalaman nyo dapat kung ano ang nature at limits ng reasoning. Ito yung course objective natin Hindi lang sa malalaman nyo ang nature and limits of reasoning, as to be able to cite ways of mathematicizing reasoning at its most basic level or most elementary level. Hindi lamang yan ang hanap natin, Hopefully, pag makagraduate kayo nito, kayo ay magiging ambassadors ng maayos na pangangatwiran sa bayan natin. Kaya, medyo may problema rin tayo. Bakit? Dahil tayo ay mga scholar ng bayan, ang hirap humindi sa tukso na lumayas dito sa bayan natin. Alam nyo ba na ang aking lahat ng mga kapatid, 6 kami. Yung 5 kong mga kapatid, matagal na, 1970s pa nagsimula, wala na dito sa Pilipinas. Yung tatay at nanay ko ay tumanda na at namatay sa abroad. Bakit? Ay hirap na hirap sa buhay dito. Huwag namang magagalit. Pagka ikaw ay mahusay sa logic, mahusay ka sa science, dito sa atin, ay pakiramdam mo nasa gitna ka ng dagat ng mga tanga. Kitang-kita nyo naman sa dami ng mga troll, ay kailangan pa rin kayo. Bakit? Kahit na kayo ay naging mahusay sa logic at mahusay sa science, pagkatapos wala naman kayo dito sa Pilipinas, ay malaking disgrasya. Bakit? Ay sino ngayon ang magiging ambassador ng maayos na pangangatwiran? So, yan ang aking isang pag-asa. Kaya ako kahit gayon, ay nagpipilit magturo. Pagka-graduate ninyo, dapat matutunan nyo yan. The nature and limits of reasoning as to be able to cite ways of mathematicizing reasoning at its most basic level. Pero, sana naman ay maging spokesperson kayo, ambassador, para sa maayos na pangangatwiran sa bayan. Kailangan natin yun. Miski na sangkatutak na pera dalhin dito, sa dami ng ating uutangin, walang mangyayari dyan pagka bulok tayo mga twiran. So, yan ang ating course objective. Hopefully, sinisipon na ako, ang lamig dito. Hopefully, mangyari yan. Ayos ba? Alright. 11:14, 1 minute. We finish our discussions. And may homework kayo. Homework. Importante ang homework sa atin. Bakit? Kasi ang pag-aaral ng logic, parang pag-aaral ng geometry at saka algebra or trigonometry. Yung previous lessons ay importante para maintindihan nyo yung susunod na lesson. Yan. Excuse me ha, sinisipon ako. Ngayon, ito ang gagawin natin. Ang una ninyong homework, magse-search ako ha. Tingnan natin. Ancient Greece. Ang una nating homework ito, magbasa kayo about ancient Greece. Ancient Greece. Dali nga. Ano ba naman ito? Ancient Greece. Sorry. Dapat kanina ko ito inunda eh.
Hi there, Jamie Keeter today at Teachers Tech.
Oh,
Today
ba't napapunta yun dyan? Ito na lang. Alright, anong babasahin ninyo about ancient Greece? Bakit importante ang ancient Greece? Well, dalawang ating suggestion ha, gamitin nyo Wikipedia or Encyclopedia Britannica. Encyclopedia Britannica, yan. Free naman niya Encyclopedia Britannica. Ito yung ito yung aking bias. Alright. So, ano yung pag-aaralan natin? Ancient Greek civilization. Ancient Greece. You either use Wikipedia or Encyclopedia Britannica, or better yet, both. And then, kung wala kayong chance, total, nandito na sa atin, binigay ko yan sa inyo sa sa ating course pack. Go to our course pack. Alright, you scroll down our course pack. You will see there a portion where I gave you a book. Alright? Yan. Dito sa libro natin, sinulat ko at saka ni Gerald Franco. Alright? Dito sa libro natin, yung simula ng mga diskusyon dyan, tungkol yan sa ancient Greece. Kaya lang in Filipino. Kung ayaw niyong magbasa in Filipino, then pwede kayong magbasa in English dyan nga sa Wikipedia or in English dyan nga sa Encyclopedia Britannica. About what? Ancient Greece. Ang ancient Greece, yan ang umimbento ng demokrasy. Yan ang umimbento ng demokrasy. At, importante, kung hindi na-imbento ang demokrasy, hindi ma-imbento ang philosophy. Kung hindi naman na-imbento ang philosophy, hindi ma-imbento ang logic the way we know it. So, kabit-kabit. For our purposes next meeting, pag-usapan natin ang kinalaman ng advent, alright, invention, advent of democracy sa ancient Greece. Paano na-imbento ng ancient Greece ang democracy? Sorry Dito tayo magsisimula. Ano ba ang philosophy? Ang philosophy na-imbento ng mga ancient Greeks. Pero dahil na-imbento ng ancient Greeks ang demokrasya, kaya napabilis yung pag-imbento ng philosophy. So for our purposes, tatlong bagay ang inyong homework. Read on 1, ancient Greece. 2, invention of democracy by the ancient Greeks. And 3, finally, invention of philosophy by the ancient Greeks. Alright, tatlo. Pagka binasa nyo yan, mas maiintindihan ninyo ang discussion ko next meeting. There you go. Okay. Sorry Napasobra yung kwento ko kanina. Nawala sa isipan ko kung nakikita niyo yung screen na ipinapakita ko eh. Mukhang maliit na screen, mukhang nagkakamali ang pagpapakita ko ng screen. So, later on, ayusin natin. But at least, nadinig niyo man yung kwentuhan natin. So far, so good. Is there anything that you need to tell me about besides palpak yung aking pagpapakita ng screen? Hindi ko napindot ito eh. Dapat itong pinindot ko. Kaso nandito. Nung nag-share ako ng screen, okay. Yung mga nagka-problema sa lecture natin ngayon, I'm giving another lecture mamaya, 1 o'clock. At 1 o'clock, pagbibigay ko ng lecture mamaya, pwede kayo sumama rin kung gusto niyo kasi nandyan yan sa YouTube. Alright? So, end of broadcast tayo at the moment. I'll see you on Wednesday, next meeting. Wednesday, hopefully, nabasa nyo yung mga kailangan basahin tungkol sa ancient Greece. Alright? Pasensya na ha. At medyo marami ako iniisip ngayon eh. May project kasi ako nakisuyo sa akin ang DepEd, Department of Education. Pinasulat kami ng libro, Philosophy of Sport. And ang daming mga bagay-bagay na iniisip ako. So, lumilipad-lipad ang aking isipan eh. Okay, magandang umaga sa inyo. Thank you for participating. All comments are welcome, good or bad. Bahala kayo sa mundo. Importante sa ating demokrasya. Alright? So, either you tell me sa ating Google Classroom or you tell me sa ating Facebook chat, yung ilalim ng Facebook broadcast. Pwede rin nanyong sabihin din sa akin through emails and aking phone number, text, SMS. Alright? Sige. Magandang tanghali po. Pasensya na. Nagka-problema tayo kanina. Sige. Bye-bye.